The American sitcom Family Guy has mocked the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, saying that Harry and Meghan received millions from their Netflix grifting. Each Saturday, of course, I love to give you a rundown, and who better to do so than the fabulous royal biographer Angela Levin. So, of course, we have to start with the Family Guy clip.
Yeah.
Angela Levin.
It was so funny. It's one of the things you just sort of laugh out loud. There's this little butler, you know,
we'll play it
hair.
at the moment.
You will play it at the moment. OK, let people see it.
Should we play it? OK, so have a listen to this, and if you're at home, watch on the TV. It's Harry and Meghan and South Park, a Family Guy even. Sorry, that was the other. So you see, Angela, even Family Guy now, because they're so similar, the cartoons, Family Guy having a pop at them.
Yeah, they don't respect them anymore, actually. They've sort of lost it. And the whole thing in that one sentence about Netflix has given me this for nobody knows what it's for means that they've grabbed money, they haven't worked hard, they don't deserve it. And the move that Harry's got with his arm like that, you know, put it over there with the other. It's just like he moves his arm. So it's really hilarious. It's very well done. But I think Meghan will absolutely be furious about that because in her own mind she still thinks she's a global wonder. But this just shows that they are getting very bored with them. And once they do in America, you have to work very hard to stay at the top. You go down and down and downhill. And one of the other things I want to say about Harry is that in 2019 he set up this Travelist where people wanted to go on holiday but they would try and look after the place they were going, environmental care. And he's actually knocked it off the spot, hasn't he? He's the patron, but he had these 7 SUVs. He's gone to see sports cars which guggle up money, oil and very, very bad for the country.
Right, yes.
And he had, you know, he's just not interested anymore and he won't go on a public plane, he goes on a private plane. And you think, how can you have a patron who's doing absolutely what you don't want?
Well, he's doing absolutely everything he tells you not to do.
Yeah, exactly. So it's pointless. But I suppose they still think he's still Prince Harry. But I think that's going downhill because Meghan is at him all the time. She has to go first. She has to bring him down, speaks first. And it's very difficult. So he no longer has that sort of royal, demure attitude that he had years ago.
When one of the world's most publicized royal figures begins to preach values while quietly betraying them, that's when accusations of hypocrisy don't just stick, they barrel in. Angela Levin has laid into Prince Harry, claiming he's been doing everything he tells you not to do. Tonight, we tear apart the persona, the narrative, and the contradiction at the heart of the Sussex brand. Remember the rhetoric? Harry speaking of duty, of service, of sacrificing privilege. Fast forward to today, billions of views, multi-million-dollar media deals, private jets, elite circles. Levin's contention: if you're going to tell the world to change its ways, you'd better live them first. Levin cited the episode of Harry and Meghan flying to a concert on a private jet whilst fronting an eco-charity. A glaring disconnect. He told others to act. He chose differently. The issue isn't only the act, it's the perception. When you speak of truth and equality and then act unconstrained by those same ideals, millions see a contradiction. And Levin argues, that contradiction is exactly what's dragging Harry's credibility down. Harry and Meghan crafted a narrative: escape the monarchy, remain royal in purpose, build a new kind of legacy. But in every PR push, every media interview, the tension mounts. Angela Levin says Harry's got one rule book for the public and another for his private life.
Although some would argue that, you know, we want to see the man sort of doing what the woman says. So he has become, you know, he's
a servant.
Well,
really.
he's nothing wrong with that, to be honest with you. I'm impressed she's managed it. Thinking, I want to know her secret.
Yeah, that's a good... but what's lovely, and which is really nice, is that Catherine is now another aunt, and her brother has had a baby. And I think that's lovely because James has had a very hard time. He had a lot of depression. He businesses failed on 2 occasions, marshmallows and dogs, and he's now found a woman who loves him, and they've got a little boy a couple of weeks ago. They were very quiet on it. It kept very quiet because they didn't sort of leak it. They were just walking down in London and people saw that. So they said the baby had been with them for 2 or 3 weeks, and his face, he was just absolutely so happy. And you think that he can hold together now, you know, a family and be incredibly happy with all those things. And he was very upset about losing a dog, but he's now got something very important in a family. And it'll be lovely for the Middletons, because they've had a hard time with going business broke and people writing nasty things about them on trees and things like that.
For example, preaching humility whilst living behind ultra-secure gated mansions, advocating for truth whilst selectively editing the past, speaking of family values while severing ties. Levin summed it up. He does everything he tells you not to do. That's not just a rhetorical dig. It's a warning that when legacy becomes brand, authenticity collapses. What happens inside the palace when your nephew is publicly denouncing the system you represent? Levin says it's not just embarrassment. It's damage control. Royal aides reportedly whisper about predictable patterns, alerts in advance of projects, nerves before public comments, the sense that any family gathering could become tabloid gold. Harry's earlier role was clear: service, support, continuity. Now, he's in the spotlight for naming grievances, selling stories, and building a lifestyle around detachment. Levin argues that while the monarchy endures quietly, Harry's spectacle invites scrutiny, and not always sympathetic. And the public sees it. The brand of the monarchy remains rooted in tradition, duty, and continuity. The brand of Harry? Reinvention, exposure, and according to Levin, a growing gap between message and action.
But at least they may have gone bust, but at least they've got a rich daughter, very rich daughter, so they'll be okay. What about travellers, though, aren't they? Do you think they'll sack Harry?
Well, I think they should, actually. I think if somebody doesn't do anything that actually he came in 2019 to say we all had to do and was very important, and he wanted it to work globally.
Now, travellers, what were they wanting Harry to do? What was his role there?
Well, Harry was the patron, and to encourage people when they went on holiday to make sure they were going to the right place, they weren't going where the planes would be difficult for them, where they upset the animals, that you should be very careful which plane you took to which spot, and so that you respected the land. And of course he hasn't done that.
Now, moving on to King Charles, actually, because now this is an interesting story. Talk me through it.
Yes, well, there's a wonderful helper who was in the army, who still is, and Johnny Thompson, and he became every woman's sort of hero because he was guarding the late Queen. He's very handsome, he's very funny, and he devoted to the King. And the King has now improved his condition and is now going to be the #1 who looks after him, helps things going, take visitors through to him, and you know, do all the things that are necessary. When I was at the V&A with the King and Queen and him, I went up to him and I said, "Excuse me, but I just want to know, do you really love all these women who go after you because they think you're so handsome and you're so charming?" He went bright red, which was quite sweet for someone from the army. And he said to me, "Oh, I don't let myself get involved in that." He said, "Because my duty is to..." It was Prince Charles, it was before that, and I want to look after him, and that's what I put my energy for. So I thought,
that makes him even more attractive.
Yeah.
Let's ask the hard question. Can Harry rebuild credibility? Levin suggests he could, but only after a serious audit of priorities. Stop the constant commentary, stop the spectacle, live the values you claim to believe. Until that happens, the hypocrisy label lingers. Because the world isn't forgiving when leaders live by one script while expecting the public to follow another. This isn't about villainy, it's about coherence. And for someone as visible as Harry, the price of incoherence is high. Levin's warning: when your story is more about critique than creation, you risk being swallowed by your own narrative. Angela Levin's words are sharp. If you're going to talk about what people should do, you better do it. She doesn't just criticize Harry for what he does. She criticizes the gap between his platform and his practice. Harry's trajectory is no longer simply departure from duty. It's a brand pitched as moral alternative. And when the moral compass falters, the brand collapses. The question now, will Harry confront that gap? Or will the spectacle continue, while his legacy slips quietly away? Hypocrisy isn't just about doing wrong. It's about telling others how to live, then disregarding your own rules. According to Angela Levin, Prince Harry has crossed that line. His actions don't just contradict his words, they undermine them. What do you think? Is Harry a hypocrite stuck in his own narrative? Or is this a misread of a man trying to remake himself? Leave your thoughts below. Subscribe for deep royal analysis, unflinching commentary, and the stories the palace quietly hopes you don't see.